my YouTube channel. Welcome old subscribers, welcome new. And I live in a lovely place in the Medway town called Rochester, right near the riverside, which is a lovely place to live. Okay, so yesterday I had decided to completely cut my ties with my mother, just cut them off, okay? So I left my mum yesterday afternoon, it must have been about 1:30, got in a taxi around Durrell Gardens where the post box was. There was a mouldy 2p coin which I picked up because I thought that was funny. Well, I did. I've gone through worse times than this, believe you me. And I told you my mum was wearing a white vest. My mum, when I left yesterday, my mum was wearing a white vest. And I left with just my taxi fare. So my mum has given me £11. The taxi fare came to £9.80, and I told the driver to keep the 20p. And I was left with a £1 coin. Right? Here it is. I've still got the £1 coin that my mum gave me yesterday, with the Queen's head on. I don't know what year it is. I can't see. Sorry, Max. No, I'm just going to see what you can see what the year is. It's so bright. Right. I'm not going back. I'm not going back, okay? I'm not going back. I'm a human being. I'm not a dog. I'm not, I'm a person, and I'm not being treated like shit anymore by anybody. My father claimed that when he was living with my mother, he was suffering domestic abuse and that he was neglected by Jennifer. He claimed that. Apparently he said it to my mum, that he thought he was suffering domestic violence and he was suffering neglect. As you well know, my dad died of a heart attack in August 2025, Derek did, and he collapsed dead after going to the toilet. I don't know what happened that day on August 25th, 2021. I wasn't there. Derek died in front of my mother. My mum told me he had something wrong with his eye when he was a little boy, and when he died with one of his eyes wide open and one was shut. She told me several police came round. With what I've had to do with the police not helping me, ringing 999 and it being engaged, I'm very dubious as to what police came out to see my father. I'll be completely honest. I wasn't called the day my dad died or the day after. I was called about 2 days after my father passed away, which, considering I was his biological daughter, I was upset about that. Right? Jennifer said that she'd knocked on Sue's door and Sue had taken a sleeping tablet and she didn't hear my mother knock on the door when my dad was either dead or he was dying on the floor. So Sue had taken a sleeping tablet and she didn't hear my mum knock on the door, which again I find very hard to believe that no one heard any noise at that time in the morning, because when I'm laid down on my bed and there's even the remotest noise outside, I can hear it. Right? So I don't believe a word that anybody tells me anymore. I was accused of being just like my father Derek yesterday. Well, when somebody, my mother has never seen my grandchildren. Her grandchildren, sorry. She's not seen her grandchildren. And all the 22 years I was up in Gloucester suffering domestic abuse myself, she never once came up to see me. She called on the phone like she does now, or back then. She can't ring me now because I've thrown the phone in the bin. I've destroyed it. I'm sick and tired of it. When you are constantly bombarded every day with phone calls, someone telling you, you're not Jennifer, I'm Jennifer, it was beginning to affect my mental health and make me feel very unwell. When I went round there yesterday, I sat down, I tried to have a normal conversation with my mother Jennifer, and we're not talking about David talking about me, it's me, Crystal, Sinestra talking about Jennifer, my mother, as she keeps saying. All she kept saying was, you're not Jennifer, I'm Jennifer, and it makes you ill. You start to question who you really are, and it makes you feel sick. So I started to get upset, annoyed. I tried going in the backyard, and that's where Barry's dog went for Max. So I couldn't stand out in the garden and get respite from my mother Jennifer. Barry came out with his, it was on a lead, but the lead was long enough for that dog to really go for Max. I came back in and my mum would not stay quiet. She wouldn't sit and stay quiet. And then she started to bring up things about my children. Now, one of the things Jennifer said about my children, because they're not her children, was that I must have said something to my children to stop them coming to see their grandmother. My children did not even know my mum Jennifer because she hadn't bothered to see them. She's not had anything to do with them, especially since one of my sons has lived down in Chatham and Rochester now for 10 years. She hasn't attempted or bothered to really be a grandmother to my children, so they don't want to know her. It's not because that I've said anything to them, and they do know what happened between my father and I. So, that's no secret. So even if people thought by getting rid of me, harming me and destroying me, other people know what my father did to me. So, you can't just get rid of me. Other people know what he did, right? So, I thought to get out of the situation before it became volatile and not healthy, I left Durrell Gardens from my mother's address, and I phoned the taxi, Star Taxis. It wasn't my mother Jennifer. I phoned the taxi to get out of there before the situation became out of control. My dad himself said that he couldn't bear living with my mother. He couldn't stand it. He told me several times he couldn't stand it. She was, I understand that she said to me, when she found out what my father was doing to me, she withheld sex from him. But it wasn't good enough. She should have reported it to the police, along with myself, and something would have been done. But she punished my father because he slept with me by withholding sex from him. It wasn't reported to the police. She just withheld sex from my father. So my father was living with my mother in a sexless relationship, just barely existing. And in my opinion, she was dishing out punishment which should have really been done by the police. So she was in fact torturing my father and myself, I believe, when I told her what he'd done to me. She dished out her own punishment. Instead of it being reported and dealt with by the police, she decided to punish me and my father believe she helped to cause in 2008 when I came down. So she punished my dad and I like some massive witch hunt for what I believe she caused and instigated in 2008. Now I'm quite willing to make statements, right? But as I will know that when I reported what was going on in 2008, several times, the police changed tactics and said they was going to put me in a cell if I reported anything further. And 2 police officers came out, cocky, chewing gum. Now I know full well, when I was in a dangerous incident the other day, I called 999, some stupid woman with an accent just asked me stupid questions. They never bothered to trace the phone call or come out and help me. So do I believe what's being said to me? Do I believe that the police have done anything to help? No, I don't. I believe I'm being intimidated, frightened off, people trying to twist it and blame it on me. It's a massive cover-up. Massive. So I got out of there, and I'm not going back. My mother has got my washing. She's got a green bath sheet. She's got a couple of pair of my pants, female knickers, and she's got my clothing. I've got no money for a taxi. I'm not walking up there to retrieve my belongings. That's the end of it. You do not laugh when someone is upset and distraught, and she did this with my dad as well, upset, distraught, and she's provoking by bringing up my children into an argument and actually laughing when she's saying things like it's funny. Not interested anymore. I've got out of the situation and I'm not going back. Alright, if people think it's funny, right, you know, I need to lose weight, I actually do. So, you know, when I do get myself back on my feet, there's people worse off than me. Women flee violence, domestic violence situations with absolutely nothing. They just run out of the flat with nothing. Now I got out of that flat and I just had cat food, dog food and cat litter. I'm not being controlled with money. I'm not a dog. It's not dog water she leaves on the table. It's for human consumption. As Kim said to me yesterday when I went into the co-op after visiting my mother, she's the only one that leaves dog water outside the co-op. If I go by today and there's no water in the dog bowl, Kim said to me, can I go into the co-op, me, Crystal, and ask the staff to put some dog water out for the dogs in the dog bowl outside the co-op, the Rochester Riverside. And another point I want to make is my neighbour upstairs for 2 days didn't have his kids up there. I had that argument with my mum yesterday. He had his kids round yesterday afternoon, and he's gone out this morning in a white Puma top. And what was my mother wearing yesterday? A white vest. Not me, my mother Jennifer was wearing a white vest. Him upstairs, who's been bullying me for 2 years since I moved into this property, has gone out this morning. His kids have got baseball caps on, and he is wearing a Puma white vest. I am not tolerating being abused. If the police won't do anything to help me, and nobody else will, all I can do is keep away from bullies and protect myself, which is what I've done since 2008, since I came down from Gloucestershire. It's a woman having to protect herself from being physically, mentally attacked and abused. because the police do absolutely nothing. See you later.